A beautiful package doesn't always sell. This is probably one of the most expensive misconceptions in the fast-moving consumer goods industry. Every manufacturer wants their product to look good on the shelf, but consumers do not necessarily choose the most beautiful package. They choose the one they can understand the fastest. If within 2 seconds it is not clear what the brand is, what the product is, and why it deserves attention, the chances of it staying on the shelf increase dramatically. The good news is that this is not a matter of talent or personal taste. It is a matter of psychology, visual communication, and dozens of scientific studies conducted in recent years showing how people actually perceive packaging in stores. After more than 2 decades of experience in packaging design, we have complied the mistakes we encounter most often and compared them with what scientific research tells us. Mistake number 1. You want the consumer to see everything, and that is exactly why they see nothing. This is one of the most common and most costly mistakes in packaging design. The brand, the product, the flavor, the key benefit, the promotion, the image, everything is competing for attention. When everything is big, colorful, and important, practically nothing stands out. Instead of making the choice easier, the packaging confuses the consumer and scatters their attention. What does the research show? People do not examine packaging sequentially. Their gaze is drawn to several key elements, and the composition determines what will be noticed first. Orqueen's research identifies so-called visual ecology as one of the strongest factors influencing attention. A 2025 review of 52 eye-tracking studies reaches the same conclusion. Visual hierarchy is critical to how consumers perceive packaging. Before the design process begins, it should be clear what the consumer needs to understand within the first 1 to 2 seconds. What is the brand? What is the product? What is the flavor? Why should I choose this one? If these 4 questions are not given a clear visual priority, the design may be beautiful, but it will not be effective. Mistake number 2. You made the design more beautiful, but now it is no longer clear what you are selling. This is one of the most dangerous mistakes in a premium redesign. We remove the product image, we reduce the description, we make everything cleaner, more elegant, and more premium. The result? The consumer cannot tell whether they are looking at tea, chocolate, cosmetics, a dietary supplement, or alcohol. What does the research show? Research shows that the packaging creates expectations before the product is even tried. Color, imagery, typography, and overall visual language tell the brain what it is about to taste, feel, and experience. Charles Spence's research is among the strongest scientific sources, demonstrating how powerfully design influences consumers' expectations. Practical takeaway: beautiful packaging is not enough. If it is not clear within a few seconds what the product actually is, the design is failing on its primary communication function. Packaging should not simply look good. First and foremost, it must be understood. Mistake number 3. You chose the color because it looks beautiful, but does it communicate the right message? Color is one of the first things consumers notice. Before they even read the brand name, they have already started forming assumptions. Is the product sweet? Is it fresh? Is it premium? Is it natural? All of this happens within fractions of seconds. What does the research show? Charles Spence's research demonstrates that color creates expectations about taste, sweetness, freshness, intensity, and quality even before the product is consumed. When packaging uses colors that strongly contradict the expectations associated with a product category, consumers may perceive the product as harder to understand or even less appealing. Recent experiments have also shown that when packaging color does not correspond to the expected flavor, for example, a lemon product in red packaging or a strawberry product in green, people often begin to anticipate a different flavor before they even taste it. In some cases, this can even influence their subsequent evaluation of the product itself. This does not mean that every orange juice package needs to be orange. It means when you break the visual codes of a category, you need to do it deliberately and with a clear strategy. Otherwise, differentiation can easily turn into confusion. because the right color is not simply the one that looks beautiful, it is the one that communicates the right expectation. Mistake number 4. All the flavors in the range look the same, and consumers cannot find the one they are looking for. This is the opposite extreme. Sometimes the desire for consistency is so strong that the different flavors become almost indistinguishable. In a range of 8, 10, or 15 products, this is no longer merely a design problem, it becomes a consumer problem. What does the research show? On the shelf, consumers perform 2 tasks simultaneously. First, they need to recognize the brand. Then, almost instantly, they need to identify the flavor or variety they want. If these 2 tasks cannot be performed simultaneously, the choice becomes slower and more difficult. Practical takeaway. Good product range architecture always combines fixed and variable elements. Fixed elements: the brand, the product name, the core composition. Variable elements: flavor color, ingredient imagery, variant name. Each stock keeping unit does not need to have a completely different design. Quite the opposite. The goal is for all the products to look like one family while allowing the desired flavor to be identified almost instantly. Mistake number 5. The logo is large but nobody notices it. A logo can be 40 or even 50 millimeters wide and still remain almost invisible. Why? Because size is only one factor. Contrast, positioning, surrounding graphic elements, and visual competition on the package often matter much more. What does the research show? A 2005 study developed a model of assessing logo visibility on packaging by combining logo recognition with predictions of visual attention. The conclusion is clear. A brand's ability to be noticed depends not only on the size of its logo, but also on how strongly it stands out within the overall composition. Practical takeaway. Do not measure visibility with a ruler. Do not ask, "Is the logo big enough?" Ask, "Where does the eye go during the first second?" If the answer is not to the brand, the problem is probably not the size, it is the design. Mistake number 6. The design looks perfect, but only on the monitor. This is one of the most underestimated mistakes in packaging design. At 200% zoom, everything looks excellent. On the actual package, however, the product name begins to disappear. And from the distance at which consumers see the product on the shelf, it may become completely unreadable. What does the research show? Academic research treats typography as part of the packaging's overall communication system, together with color, imagery, and composition. Legibility does not depend solely on font size. Contrast, letter spacing, and background printing technology, packaging material, and the type of varnish used all play a role. Practical takeaway. Good typography should be tested in at least 3 situations. At actual print size, when holding the product in your hand, from the distance at which it will be seen on the shelf. Because packaging is not sold on a 27-inch monitor, it is sold in the store. Mistake number 7. The packaging promises more than the product can deliver, and consumers notice. This is one of the most serious mistakes in fast-moving consumer goods packaging. Large, juicy raspberries, flowing chocolate, rich, creamy milk, a generous handful of hazelnuts. Yet in reality, the corresponding ingredient may be present only in a minimal quantity. Even when this is fully compliant with legislation, the visual promise can create expectations that the actual product fails to meet. What does the research show? Scientific research shows that packaging imagery influences not only product choice, but also consumers perceive its taste after consumption. In other words, consumers first taste the product with their eyes. This is precisely why the visual promise needs to be carefully calibrated. Japan provides an interesting example. In many food categories, strict requirements exist to ensure that images shown on packaging realistically correspond to the product's actual content and size. Practical takeaway. Good product retouching should make the product look more appetizing, but not more misleading, because the best design does not create unrealistic expectations. It fulfills them. Mistake number 8. You want the packaging to look completely different, and sometimes that comes at too high of a price. Many brand managers say, "I want us to look completely different from every competitor." The desire is understandable, but every product category has established visual codes. If all laundry detergents use certain colors, shapes, and images that communicate cleanliness and effectiveness, while your packaging looks like a boutique bottle of olive oil, you may gain originality, but lose clarity. What does the research show? Research shows that when a design deviates too far from the expectations associated with a product category, consumers find it more difficult to recognize the product and understand what is actually being offered. In other words, trying too hard to be different can confuse the consumer. Practical takeaway: being different does not mean being difficult to understand. The strongest packaging designs preserve enough of their category's visual characteristics to remain instantly recognizable while breaking only a few conventions in order to stand out. Because good design does not simply attract attention, it communicates the right message at first glance.